a late addition to the concepts, but actually I think it developed fairly well. So some of you may not really know what we're talking about here. So basically what we're looking at is the impacts of the sharing economy and growth in the sharing economy. So Uber and Lyft, and then Airbnb, and then food. So now somebody wants to use technology to place people to buy food. You know, I'm going to cook, and technology is going to tell them where to go, and you know, all that. And the goal here is to get. We're starting with Kansas City because we're here to get the city out in front of this very big sharing economy issue, which really relates to the question of, can technology and people's rating, you know, the services provided and so on, in things like Uber and Lyft and those kinds of things, can that replace technology, replace regulation? Okay, should it replace regulation? It certainly is putting pressure on the regulatory environment and trying to find what is the sweet spot between regulation and this idea of the shared economy. Okay, I have no idea what they're putting up there, but
at some point when you're ready, we can announce the public forum that will happen.
So, so what we're trying to, so that was the big issue. How does the city try to deal with this? And why this is a technology issue is because it's the availability of technology that allows these sharing communities to develop, okay? And then there was a subsidiary but important issue in the city about communication. And this is, it's not unique to Kansas City. This is happening all over the country. But a communication issue. So some of the players are not necessarily the people, so like the entrepreneurs are against the regulation, okay? The kids are against the regulation, but others see the safety and security issues as very important, okay? So we have to get those balanced, but how do we get the right people talking to each other and to the city in ways that are really going to help these issues move along, okay? So on the communication piece, Daza suggested that in the near future that there be a
public forum.
Public forum.
Announcement?
Okay.
We've got a. We can announce that now if that's the right time.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead.
Here we go. So Rick, and the reason why we're doing it this way is so that we can get a little bit of video of the announcement, and then guess what will be put into the announcement page? Video of the announcement. So are you ready? Okay. Sure. So you do a few things with one thing. It's just better. Great. Hey, Rick. How's it going? Great. So, yeah, one of the great things that happens, hey, come on, Tony, in this conversation we just had at the UMKC Law School conference here was in the context of this more academic and research-oriented exploration of regulatory models for the new sharing economy. Rick Usher and I brought forward a topic that Tony Lai and the three of us had discussed last night, which was really thought leading, and I'd say regulatory model leadership being shown here in Kansas City, Missouri, with respect to the Uber regulatory framework. Seemed like it was something that required, like you were saying, more discussion. We started talking about public forums and ways to convene people, entrepreneurs in particular, coming out of a dialogue Tony and I had had earlier in the day at Think Big, and the city, based on a dialogue that the three of us had at a reception for this conference last night, in a public forum where academia could be involved in mutually convening those stakeholders and other thought leaders and stakeholders to have a meaningful conversation about what's happening in the regulatory arena and allow their views to be heard, right? And that's in line with how you engage, right?
And engage with regulatory requirement and public engagement and advancing technology. So it's a great forum, and thank you, Dean Suni, for your vision and support of this.
We're happy to be involved.
It's been terrific. And just, if people are interested in engaging in public policy issues, how do they do that in Kansas City, Missouri? You have a technology way that people can share their views?
Well, we have KC Momentum, and our city manager, our mayor, are very active on Twitter. So actually, we do a lot of our communicating that way. The mayor is at Mayor Sly James, the city manager is at KCMO Manager, and I'm at RU KCMO. And that has been a tremendous tool for us in communication with at least the digital crowd in Kansas City.
And if I wanted to share different ideas, more than 140 characters, and let people discuss and rate them, could I do that?
We can put a topic on KC Momentum, which is our digital platform for civic engagement. It's put out by a company called Mind Mixer, which is locally here, and they work with cities across the U.S.
That's great. So, I mean, there's a lot of ways to engage, and not least of which is in person. And so we look forward to coming back and bringing all the hangouts and the digital engagement to bear for an in-person engagement that I think that Rick and the others will be setting up over time, that entrepreneurs locally here can engage with and start talking about those longer-term legal and regulatory models. And I hope it can be a terrific input to the ongoing work that Dean Suni is going to be leading as part of this workshop. And who knows, maybe a new model of regulation will come out of all of this in the fullness of time that can make a real difference. I certainly hope so.
Sounds good.
Okay, great, thanks.
I had no idea that was happening.
Yep.
That's okay. So the forum is one piece, but the other piece is more of a research-based piece. So for a while, Will Hornsby was with us, and he told us about some sources that are working on this. And Rick is involved with some organizations that are looking into these issues. So our short-term, one of the short-term things is getting the forum going, and the other short-term thing is beginning to inventory what's out there on these issues. We want to take the 30,000 foot view of this and look at what does it mean in the big picture to try to balance these things, and then get some research done on it, and based on what we find in that research, to potentially develop a framework for analyzing these types of issues. And then play out by asking, what does the city regulate, and what could be coming down the pike to challenge, using a trusted sharing economy, to challenge the regulatory economy. And if we play those out far enough, we can test the framework against the potential models and try to determine where is that appropriate balance. And then potentially use that to share with other cities to see if it helps them in resolving the issue. So that's the plan.
Awesome.
Questions? Okay. All right, I think, any